Okay, I don't have an intro yet or anything.
Right. We could use some of the music from downstairs.
Yeah, we can use all this background noise.
Not even have to add music.
Okay. Welcome to my podcast, Life's a Voyage. This is our first episode, and I'm joined by my guest, Adam Montoya.
I'm just here for moral support.
He will be a common guest on the podcast. Very important, very expensive guest to have.
That's right.
For those of you that don't know, Adam is my partner, so...
Nobody knows anything yet because this is your first podcast.
Yeah, no one knows anything, actually.
We're figuring it out, too.
Yeah. So for the first podcast, I just wanted to do kind of like a get-to-know-us kind of thing, because everything that I want to cover in the podcast is going to be kind of all over the place, and sometimes it might be like, how is this relevant, or, you know, whatever it is. So I just wanted to cover, like, the gist about, like, who we are and, like, whatnot.
Absolutely.
But my name's Tatiana. I am 24. I'm a photographer and business owner. And this is Adam.
Yeah, Adam, 23, and I am a filmmaker and I guess a photographer because I went to school for photography, but we'll get more into that later.
Well, for school, we both went to RIT, which is Rochester Institute of Technology, for advertising photography. That's where we met. It was so cute. It was so... like love at first sight.
Yeah, we'll save that story.
Yeah, we'll save that for another time. But yeah, so we both went to RIT. That's where we met, and we both wanted to own our own businesses, and it really worked out. It really did. I got lucky.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really realize that was a goal of yours to own your own business, even though I guess I didn't know it was one of mine either. I kind of like have always been freelancing, and then like your spirit, our entrepreneurial spirit, like kind of came to me, and then I guess that's why I decided I wanted to start my own business.
Yeah, we both were like definitely just very hard workers and driven, and that's how we got where we are. But so we have our own business, Hill and Valley Creative, which is a production company. Do you want to talk on that since you're the
Sure, yeah.
You're the spearhead?
Yeah, so I guess Hill and Valley started from mostly like my freelance filmmaking endeavors back when I was like 16. It started. I had originally started working at a camera store, and then people would come in and ask me questions about cameras, and then I myself was into making skateboard films, and I decided to try my hand at commercial filmmaking.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, yeah. I used to make lots of YouTube videos. But yeah, once I got into like commercial filmmaking, I realized that there are many different parts to the filmmaking process, and you can't really be an expert at all of it, anything in the creative field really. So I decided to start asking people to help me with different portions of it, like our friend Rick, who is now a co-owner of our business, and he kind of helps with the editing process. We have people that help with design, web design, and that's kind of the way I saw it play out from a very early age. It's like everybody contributes their portion to the entire process.
Yeah, and it's kind of like we're photographers and filmmakers or whatever, you know, but like I have a huge background in graphic design and a huge background in like all these other like odd creative social media stuff, and we knew that we wanted to do it all for our clients, but we can't physically do it all. So we decided to make our company like a full service production company and hire other people to do the things that we might be able to do, but we just would rather be shooting or
I've always wanted to like
else.
At least understand each part of the process, but I know that I can't, or nobody can fully do everything. So
yeah, nor do we really want to. Like, right. You would rather be just making videos all day.
Absolutely. I enjoy like design and photography, but making videos is like my passion. So
yeah, same with like photo or, you know, other things. It's like I'd rather just be shooting rather than retouching or, you know, doing the design and the social media management and all that. Like, yeah, I know how to do it, but I'd rather just be doing other things.
Yeah, you don't want to be a jack of all trades by any means.
Yeah, no, it's not great. It's not fun or fresh. So that's our company. That's like what we do. Everyone always asks me like, what do you do for a living? Because like I don't work for anyone. We work for ourselves, so we're self-employed. And people are always like, well, what do you even do? And like what we physically do is like create things. but we also like do all the behind the scenes stuff for small businesses, like when you have to do everything from being an accountant to like, you know, client outreach and a million other things. But yeah, so that's like what we do for work. I also do like portraits on the side. And then I also started my travel consulting company during a pandemic, which was a great fun thing. But Top Voyage is probably where a lot of people will be coming from to watch this podcast. But we'll talk about more of that later. But yeah, so let's talk about like who are we? Where did we come from? Where did you come from, Adam?
Yeah, that's a great question. Webster, New York, I guess, right? Is that the right answer?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah, so is that a question for me then? Where
yeah,
did I
like,
come from?
Who are you?
So I guess as long as I can remember, I was always into skateboarding from a very early age, and that kind of really shaped who I am as a person, I feel like, in terms of my overall personality and like my drive.
Yeah. And your parents like supported you in that, and they like...
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you grew up here in Rochester basically, and you had your parents that like supported you in skateboarding and filmmaking.
Yep.
And because you had that all support, you were able to like just start making films like at 16. Like,
yeah, my parents told me that they'd always support whatever like passion I had. So, you know, I went very far with that. I was into hockey, I was very into baseball, and like every sport you could probably play. Mm-hmm. At some point I was interested in each one, and I kind of like moved around until I landed on skateboarding, and I really liked the aspect of being an individual, but also everybody sees it as like skateboarders are these like individualistic people, but really it's all about everybody at the skate park or like
community.
Your whole crew and community very much. So it's not just about like what you yourself accomplish, but like what you accomplish together, because you know, even you land the coolest trick in the world, then nobody's there to see it. It's like it's still for you, but to some degree you want people to be there to support you.
Yeah. And I feel like similarly so, like with photography or, you know, going to school for photography, it's like a community. And like in Rochester specifically, it's a very big community of like creatives and photographers and videographers. Like I feel like it's larger than most cities for Rochester's size. Like yeah. I feel like it's a really big community here. So it's kind of like you were just really drawn to like collaborating and like playing, working with others kind of thing. Yeah,
it all very like stemmed from the whole skateboarding community, because as I got into filmmaking through skateboarding, I wanted to capture my friends doing very cool tricks, and there's no one really else there to do that. So I decided to pick up the camera and started messing around with video and making like basically just screwing around in the beginning.
Should we show some CinemaScape films?
Yeah, you could totally show some.
We'll show some of that.
Basically just messing around, and then I realized like how cool you can make these videos, and I started getting into gear, and then I started working at a camera store, and I quickly learned that like you can make cool photos as well as videos. And so from that point on, I really just enjoyed making videos, and I think YouTube was like my outlet, like my end goal to make the video. Mm-hmm. But then later going to school, I quickly learned like how to work on an assignment basis or like per project basis and find motivation for each individual project. Yeah.
And college was, how'd you like college?
College was a interesting time. I
hated college.
Yeah. we know your opinions on college. Well, I guess not everybody, but
go to college, but like you don't have to love it.
Yeah, I liked the community aspect again.
Yeah.
To a degree, but I think I more so liked some of the teachers that I built relationships with. Was really what kept me there. It's like you could learn more beyond the curriculum if you kind of like hung out with the professors and made friends with them. They were much more knowledge than they really knew to offer in class, at least for some of them, because they're kind of focused on offering what they had, like covering what they had to cover, and then beyond that it was up to you to learn more.
Yeah.
And I think I like that element of it. It's like solely up to you, like what you put in is what you get out of it.
I agree 100%. It's like you're there, you're paying for it, you know, you're there and you're giving all the options, right? All of the equipment access and the teachers, and it's like your job to like dig through it and like get what you need from it. But college was wild. We'll talk about college later.
Yeah, that's another topic you want to focus on in your podcast, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
gonna do a whole episode on it?
We'll probably do a whole episode on college.
That's good. I have a lot to say.
I do support college. Like, I do think people should go to college. And, like, that's
100%.
coming from someone that, like, I went to college for photography. Like, you don't need to go to college to be a photographer.
Yeah, no one does. You could learn it all on YouTube, really.
Literally. But, like, I just knew I was passionate about it. And, you know, I went to college technically on scholarship. So, like, I didn't, again, a whole nother episode about college. But I do support education. I think it's so important to be educated, and to whatever degree works for someone, right? Like, some people only need trade school, or, you know, some people can learn everything online and don't need any formal education. But I do think that college is important for most people, or just to, like, as human development and, like, growing as
Definitely.
a human. Like, that's important.
Yeah, I learned more about, like, being a human than I did about photography in college, and I think that's, like, the most
I feel like I
important
learned a lot
aspect.
about other humans in college.
Yeah.
But again, another topic. Just want to kind of scratch the surface with everything. I did want to talk briefly about my upbringing, but, like, again, can't go too deep into that or else we'll be here all day. But I grew up in Pennsylvania. I went to Milton Hershey School, which is a boarding school for underprivileged kids. My mom was a single mom. I grew up with my two brothers, and she was sick. She had MS, so we were, like, broke, like, poor. So I knew at MHS they paid for my college, part of it, and I knew that I wanted to go to college. And I, at the time, had no clue what I wanted to go to college for. I was, like, 13. I was like, yeah, I need to go to college. Like, that's how I'm going to get out of here.
That's crazy.
Like, before Hershey, I lived in this place called Carbondale, Pennsylvania, which, like, if you know Carbondale, Pennsylvania, there's not much there. So
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to go to college. And then I graduated college, and I was like, what the fuck do I do now? Like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you basically worked up to the point of what your end goal was, and then you're like, I finished.
Yeah,
Now
I was
what
like,
do I do?
what do I do now? Like, it was such a weird, happy, like, freaking out time. Like, I was lucky enough, I got a job out of college at RIT, because originally our plan was to move to New York City, which is where my dad lives. And I was like, okay, I graduated a semester earlier than Adam. So I was like, I'll work in Rochester for a semester until you graduate, and then we'll move to New York City. We'll do the whole New York City thing. It's going to be great. That was our plan. And then I got this job at RIT, and it paid really well, and it was just, like, a really good opportunity. It was, like, a marketing assistant position, which was, like, I was comfortable doing it. It wasn't anything I didn't know how to do. It was, like, good hours. It was, like, perfect for the time.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
then we ended up extending that through the end of the year, because our lease, I don't even remember what happened. We were like, let's wait another year before going to New York, just because.
Yeah, we knew we weren't ready to move just yet.
Yeah, we wanted to save and, like, establish a little bit more out of college before moving to New York. And then, so we were like, let's renew our lease. And then I kept working at RIT, and then January came around, January 2020. And I was like, okay, my contract is up with RIT. Like, let's get ready to move. Or December of 2019. I was like, okay, my contract is up at the end of December. Like, let's move to New York City. Like, we're going to go on this trip, and then we'll go apartment hunting, and it's going to be great. And then COVID happened.
Trip got canceled.
We had no place to live after April or whatever. Like, we had no lease or anything.
Right.
And we were like, crap, what are we going to do? So
Yeah. I think it's times like that remind you it's, like, important to be able to pivot, and, like, you can't always have all your eggs in one basket. So
Yeah.
I'm happy, like, you working at RIT gave me the opportunity to be flexible and, like, start my own business. So I think that worked out really
it
good.
worked out so good in retrospect, but, like, at the time I was like, what is going on? Like, we had no clue what we were doing, like, what was going to happen. And, like, so we, like, scrambled to find an apartment so we had somewhere to live, and then we scrambled to find a studio, this is our lovely studio.
Yeah, because we knew we weren't going to have enough room to keep all of our equipment in our small apartment, because we wanted to get a smaller apartment.
Yeah, because we had a studio in the dining room of the house we were renting, and we rented it with Adam's best friend, and then we were like, okay, we've been dating for 3 years. I think we want to live on our own now. And then we wanted to get a nice apartment because we couldn't get our New York City dream apartment, but now we have our New York City dream apartment in Rochester. I wonder if you can hear the little buzzing in the background.
Probably not well, because you can only hear like what's so close to the microphone.
If there's a bunch of interference in the background, I apologize. Our heater makes a lot of noise.
Yeah.
But we moved into our apartment, and then we were like, okay, well, now we don't have a dining room studio. Like, we need to get an office, and then we found this.
Yeah, we had to go studio hunting, and we had to look at lots of different spaces, and
we looked at probably like 10 plus spaces. We probably looked at like 10 plus apartments.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. And it was like on the verge of the pandemic. Like, it was like the week before lockdown that we were looking for places. It was the week before lockdown that we found this place. And so like everyone was like, no one was wearing masks yet, and we were all just like floating around, like looking at a bunch of places frantically. Like, we need somewhere.
The hardest part about this space is that we signed the lease before they even finished construction on it. We had no idea what it looked like or what it was going to look like.
Yeah, it was just like a bunch of cubicles. And then we were like, you say you can knock all the walls down and make it white? Like, we'll take it.
Yeah, we basically had no other choices. Like, in our budget, in a good area, pretty centrally located.
We love our building.
It's near our studio, or near our apartment.
Yeah, we only have like a 5-minute commute, which is, I'm so grateful. Like, I've never commuted any time to a job more than like 15 minutes, and I'm so spoiled by that. And I'm like, 5 minutes. This is great.
Yeah.
But now we have our studio, and we're just working, and our plan for the future is kind of up in the air until COVID kind of resolves itself.
Yeah, we definitely want to get back on the road as soon as possible, and like,
yeah,
I'm definitely happy with where we're ended up at this point.
Yeah,
I don't think we would have done any of this without.
I wouldn't have started 2 businesses elsewise. Like, we had Hill and Valley in the works before COVID happened, and I was doing portraits, but like, not really. And then because of COVID and staying in Rochester, I was like, well, if I have the ability to work for myself because the cost of living in Rochester is so affordable, then I'm going to work for myself and quit my part-time job and do the thing.
Yeah, I think in many ways it kind of forced us to commit to doing what we needed to do.
What we wanted to do.
Right. I mean, it kind of killed all of our other options, but
right.
Fortunately enough, we're still able to do this, and like I'm still able to make videos, so regardless of where I am, I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, for sure. Now we're basically working with clients for Hill and Valley, like a lot of small businesses, which is what we love to do. And we want to like grow Hill and Valley, and then Top Voyage is my baby, my project. And
that one's going to be probably more easily grown, I feel like, than Hill and Valley, because Hill and Valley is such a hands-on project that like there's a lot of things I have to still iron out before I can. Yeah,
it's so much more technical and so much more. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But Top Voyage is just my dream. Like, I get to travel with people that I, wouldn't otherwise get the chance to travel with, and I get to plan trips for other people. Like, hello, I love I plan trips for myself that I never take.
Yeah, you're so funny.
Yeah, and it's just been so great and such a good community, and just growing that and expanding is kind of like the goal for 2021. Just really working on things. And
yeah, I definitely want to work on Hill and Valley as much as possible this year, but also focus on making videos for myself, like short films and stuff, because I've definitely neglected my own creative needs.
My laptop's gonna die. Hold on. I guess like with this podcast, I really just want to talk a lot about like life and business, and I'm calling it Life's a Voyage because, man, if that ain't the truth, life's crazy and you never know what's gonna get tossed your way. So yeah, I want to talk about life and business and photography and travel and just kind of like everything. And a lot of the times I'll probably just be talking to you because it's a little bit more interesting than me sitting here and talking at a camera. But
you plan on having other guests too, right?
Yeah, I already have a couple people in mind. I want to get Rick on the podcast.
Yeah, Rick has a great perspective because especially for the college one, because he has a very different outlook on college than we do.
Yeah, and like, he has so much. I love Rick. Anyway, he has so much to contribute to not only our business but like our life now, right? Because now he's our business partner. But yeah, so I definitely want to have a lot of guests and kind of just like really deep dive into some topics that, you know, I like to talk about. Other people ask me some questions. Sometimes I just like to talk about something. When we're in the car on car rides, I just talk to Adam and I'm like, will you just talk to me?
Yeah, you should do your podcast in the car ride. I like that. That's a good time. It's nice and quiet.
I'm always like, can you not listen to music? Can you just talk to me?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys have any topics that you want us to cover, leave them in the comments. I have like a huge list of things that I already am going to cover, but if there's anything super popular, I'd love to chat about it. Or if there's anyone that you think would be good on the podcast, any good guests. I have a couple of close people as well as people that would have to zoom in, but I'm pretty excited about growing this and just chatting, doing something new.
Right, creating some sort of value for people to
get out of it. I feel like I have so much to talk about. I feel like there's so much people don't know about me.
Yeah, I feel like you have a really unique perspective on pretty much everything. Especially things that are like business related or like finance related, just because of like your background and where you came from. So.
Yeah, we grew up very different, so we have very different views or opinions.
Absolutely. Yeah, we tend to disagree on a lot of things, but
agree to disagree.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, I think that's why we've gotten where we are, because we come at things from very different perspectives. And like, you know, it's not like we both, even though we do the same thing, we're both photographers, we do very different things, right? And like, we have a lot in common, but we have a lot more that's not in common.
Yeah, and I think that's where I learn the most is just from seeing how you do things differently. And then to me, I might not understand it, and I might like almost get upset that you're doing something a certain way, and then you'll be like, no, you got to do it this way, and explain it to me.
Yeah, I'm crazy sometimes, and I'm like, no, it works. And then everyone's like, are you sure it's going to work? And then I'm like, no, it's going to work. And then it works.
Yeah, you tend to work smarter, and I work harder.
Yes, very true.
That's a good way to put it, right?
I'm like, how can I just work the system? Let's just work the system. That'll be a whole podcast on its own.
Working the system.
Hashtag working the system. But yeah, I guess that's kind of all I wanted to chat, was just like throw some things out there. Maybe something that we said like sparks someone to ask a question that makes a whole podcast or something. But yeah.
Yeah, you can start to hone in on what exactly you want it to be about, but it seems like there's quite a few different topics to cover.
Yeah, and the next episode is going to be about happiness and passion, which I am a strict believer that if you're doing something that doesn't make you happy, then you're never going to be successful. But that'll be for next week's podcast. Okay. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm super excited about this new endeavor. Thanks, Adam, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'll see you again next week.
Yeah, see you next week.